The lack of education.
Before starting the topic, here are some inspiring words from the Bible. The King James Bible version in the book of James 1 verse 5 stated the following words, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." The following words are main sayings in the scripture you should remember. First, lacking wisdom, and asking God for wisdom, and God freely gives all humans the wisdom they need if anyone asks him for wisdom. And God promises you that he will give you wisdom. Next, what is the meaning of upbraid and vehemently? According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online, the defining upbraid, for example, upbraided defines to criticize severely in finding fault with or to reproach severely and scold vehemently, Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online. Defining vehement defines that is marked by a forceful energy like a vehement wind, such as an intensely emotional, or defines as deeply felt like a vehement suspicion or forcibly or bitterly according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online. When God give you wisdom, you should not upbraid to use the wisdom you received wrongfully, but consider wisdom as a gift from God to use wisely. Using the wisdom God gives, you can lead to your own destruction or punishment, therefore, you will lose your wisdom if used wrongfully to criticize others. God warning about misusing wisdom or education is something you should take seriously. Because some people use their wisdom or education wrongfully to commit crimes that only lead up to a prison sentence. It is your responsibility to use your wisdom or education or both wisely to prevent criminal issues in your life. Now for the topic, the lack of education, and defining the word lack in education provide an idea of what this topic is about. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online, the word lack defines the state of being without or not having enough of something, or it defines being without or deficient in. Defining education defines the action or process of educating or being educated, in which a stage of such is a process according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online. The dictionary also defined education relating to knowledge and development that result from the process of educated, or the field of study that deals mainly with methods of teaching and learning in school by Merriam-Webster Dictionary Online. Wisdom defines the ability to discern inner qualities and relationships like insight or having a good sense like in judgment, Merriam Dictionary Online. Wisdom also defines the teaching of an ancient wise person. Hypothetically, the discussion relates to two questions. The questions are: what are the causes of the lack of education? And how does it affect our lives to function in our environment? Causes in the lack of education are being without education, not having enough education, or deficient in a subject. And how does lack of education affects our lives to function in our environment? The lack of education means the lack of an education process that develops wisdom on related knowledge. It is important that people have a related knowledge on something or someone in order to resolve problems, to develop innovation, and make decisions. Therefore, people with a lack of education are people without education. Or they do not have enough education. Or they are deficient in a subject. Being without education, having not enough education, or deficient in a subject, the results are not able to make a decision, developing innovation, or resolve problems. However, we had collected some opinions from people online, and this is what they had to say. According to Price, BD, ND, I have to say it seems to me extremely naive to think that education necessarily turns on money, social class, geographical area, employment, etc. No. Serious schools will take anybody who comes through the door and push them as far toward being educated as it is possible to be. We no longer have serious schools, or not nearly enough of them. There is your problem. According to Moore, K. ND, a lack of understanding of the dynamic relationship between a teacher and a student that leads to learning, and I assume by education you mean learning. Students do not learn by passively being in a room in which a student performs. Both sides have a responsibility, and from several decades in the classroom, I would say the problem is more often a lack of motivation on the part of the student than it is some other force involving teachers or schools. Or if you meant education in the institutional sense, I would say that the most causative factor for good institutions is low societal motivation to educate, and lack of money to educate, which springs from low societal motivation. According to Samburn 555, he talks about the entire world to why there is a lack of education. Therefore, he said that because of poverty, of two kinds, poverty of time, if most people have to spend their time immediately surviving, focusing on food, shelter, safety, etc., they do not have time to focus on education, which yields greater, but delayed, benefits. Poverty of vision, most leaders live in comfort and are in the last quarter of their lives. They therefore tend towards policy that preserves their status in the short term, rather than benefits the whole in the long term. Then, we wanted to collect opinions from the internet on how does the lack of education affect our lives to function in our environment. We learned that we were not the only ones who wanted to know the cause and effects of lacking education. According to Lack of Education, Causes and Effects, ND, of the Allison Academy states in an article on their website that says that over 70 million children do not receive an education. The cause is because the country is too poor, which is known to have a lack of education because of their economic issues according to Allison Academy, ND. The poorest countries need outside help to resolve their education issues to educate their children around the world. Lack of education, causes and effects. Other causes for the lack of education in poor countries are, such as, geographical, social in nature, lack of schools, not understanding the lack of education, families lacking money for education, lack of transportation, discrimination, and the lack of qualified teachers. The results of not having an education many children will experience, such as, poor health, shorter life expectancy, poverty, unemployment, lower salary, gender inequality, social isolation, illegal activities, poor economy, and impossibility of adequate participation in political and social life.